Hello, do you hear me? Is there any problem for the connection?
I
It's
can
my
hear you
side, right?
both. No, I can hear you both
Okay.
actually. I can hear Tarek and I can hear Muhammad.
Okay, good.
Okay. Chuck, can you hear me?
It's choppy in and out. It's very inconsistent.
Is it choppy for everybody else? Or it's only Chuck?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right.
I have the same problem. I'm not sure if there's anything that could be done about it right now.
Let me try to join from a different device. Can you hear me all right?
Ahmad, there is an echo. You have to mute yourself on the first device.
How about now?
No, still having an echo.
Maybe this will help.
Yes.
Okay, Chuck, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, I appreciate it, and sorry for the technology problem. Whenever we need it the most, whenever it gives us that biggest problem. So I appreciate your patience, everybody. So I hope that the setup is now working for everyone and you can hear me all right.
Yep, it seems better.
Okay, sounds great. So let me start with you, Chuck. I'm gonna just ask you to give me kind of your own perception of AI. You have a wealth of information gathered through your research, through your teaching, as well as being an administrator in your own school. So I just would like to know what exactly is your perception of AI generally, and what exactly its role in education. So do you think that this is kind of a big challenge that we are going to face, or it's actually an opportunity that we should use? Usually when you ask people, they are at the spectrum of, this is a blessing, this is something that we need to embrace and do the best that we can to use it and empower our student with. Or you can find people on the other spectrum, which is, this is horrible, this is not actually working for anyone, and this is not going to help us to be able to progress our student learning, and this is actually a negative thing that we use in our classes. So what exactly is your perception?
Well, a few comments. First, in my lifetime, I'm not sure I've seen a technology that's being put on us quicker. It just seems like it's, we've been talking about artificial intelligence for decades, but all of a sudden in the last year or two or three, it's just quickly coming onto us. And, business schools are scrambling. It's like the only topic discussed at AACSB meetings. So my first point is just the speed at which it's coming at us is faster than any technology I can think of in my entire life. I'm going back thinking about transitions from typewriters to computers and landline phones to cell phones. That just seemed slower as far as a transition. And it felt like the world just kind of helped us transition into those new technologies. AI is coming on us faster, and from a business school perspective and a dean perspective, I think it's just going to be more difficult for us to completely embrace and adopt. And that may just be for our type of business school. I mean, if I want all our students to have AI technology or resources, there's a cost to that. So some business schools will be more positioned to, embrace AI compared to other business schools. So I'm on the side of the technology's here and it's not going away. We went from chalkboards to whiteboards and typewriters to computers and landlines to cell phones. AI is here, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. And because of that, whether you like the technology or not, we're going to have to figure out how to live in a world with it. And that's where the challenge is for business schools like Oakland. You know, we don't have financial resources to, you know, just go ahead and get every AI technology and components and hardware and software that other schools already have. You know, if you follow along on Instagram, LinkedIn, and other social media platforms, you see some business schools already adopted AI. They have students wearing VR headsets, and so those schools are way ahead of us. So I think that's the challenge. The primary challenge is probably financial for business schools. The other challenge is, you know, what do we need? What do we do? Do we just make a class on AI? Do we make a degree program on AI, or do we just try and infuse it throughout all the classes? I think that's the other challenge is business schools. We're just not sure yet what to do with AI as far as delivery. So those are kind of my key points that I'll open up with.
Thank you, Chuck. This is great. I agree that it's not going anywhere, although our faculty or faculty in general sometimes thinking that this is too much of a change to adapt and it takes us to an unknown place, and it's hard for us to be able to embrace it as easy as we think. And that will take me directly to Dr. Khaled Hassanein. So I think we have discussed this, that your university has already have taken some initiative in creating a task force and different type of institutional support to the use of AI. And my question is basically how business school can better support faculty training, proficiency and the development in the AI in general.
Thank you, Muhammad, and Masal Khair, everyone. I will build on Chuck's point. I'll go from the premise that we cannot ignore this new productivity tool. But you see that throughout my comments, I think our biggest challenge is to use it responsibly and judiciously. And that, in my mind, is the biggest challenge in leveraging this technology. So perhaps I can talk to that challenge maybe at a later point, but in terms of faculty, McMaster is a research-intensive university, so the faculty members tend to focus highly on research. Education is still important, and we say we are student-centered. However, it is very clear in faculty members' heads that research is the most important thing. So a matter of if you want to adopt a new technology like this, you have to dedicate some of your time to understanding it, to shifting the way you deliver your courses and the way you manage students during the experience and the way you assess students. And that shifts time away from research to teaching. And I think universities need to do that, like support faculty members in this regard. I also say that sharing ideas across different faculties within the same university and across different institutions is critical. Best practices between instructors. So we have done that. So a task force was struck about a year ago, and they came up with guidelines for instructors, for students, for copyright, for what are the challenges we see with AI, and those resources were shared with faculty members. We have paralleled this by commissioning a task force within the School of Business on the same topic so that we can customize these guidelines to our own purposes. We have long had like a teaching and instruction learning support group of staff who specialize in technology, and their purpose is to help faculty members integrate innovation in their teaching, and that group has been deployed to support faculty members in this regard as well. We have run a couple of workshops directly focused on how to leverage generative AI in your teaching and how to try to avoid its problems. But I still think that we have a divide between the digital savvy faculty members and the what I would call digital migrants. And that divide is going to like widen as this technology develops further. So we have to help those digital migrant faculty to adapt to this new modes of education, because there is a fair bit of discomfort with technology. It's ethical concerns associated with it, and lack of just an understanding of how can you integrate it in your teaching and shift your assessment methods to parallel that. So I will just share one guideline, that a tool that we came up with from the university, which is a form that faculty members can use to assess students, what students submit. So this one page will ask, the instructor will ask students, for example, can you please tell me what your assignment is about? What is the main topic? What did you argue, discuss, and highlight? And you rate their answers. You can ask them, what was your favorite part of the assignment? What were some of the challenging part of the assignments? Tell me about your process for writing this assignment, and so on. These kinds of almost an interview about assignments or an oral discussion about the assignment will go a long way towards showing whether the student has assimilated the learnings they got while interacting with the generative AI. Like, I personally have no problem with using it. I have a lot of problems with students who don't learn while using it. And that's what we have to put guidelines to stop. So I'll stop here, and perhaps we can discuss some of the other points in a follow-up.
So if I understand this correctly, you are basically shifting the submission of the assignment to more of analytical of the process of building that assignment, rather than just, submit it and that you have done the job. You basically ask if you did the job and what did you learn through the process itself.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't say that we have already made that transition, but I think it is a powerful way to encourage students to learn from these experiences, as opposed to just being cognitively lazy. There's no better way of saying it, and just submitting whatever the system spits out at them.
All right. So, you mentioned tech-savvy faculty. So I think if we have somebody who has embraced the technology and used it in the session as a faculty, it's going to be Haya. So you have done an amazing job in your presentation about the how we can actually use AI in our courses. And how faculty can use it in different uses. For example, they can help students to have a personalized tutor that actually teach them what they are learning. They can provide kind of a process through which they can do an interview, and many different examples that you have given. So it seems like you are one of these tech-savvy people who started it early, and you're certainly an implementer. So my question to you, how can we integrate the AI in existing courses, and what the feedback you have received from faculty, from students about the technology? And, Dr. Khaled mentioned that we need to shift the mindset of our assessment in a different way, and instead of just producing the output, it's more of a discussion how this output has been produced and why this is the right thing to answer the question asked. So what exactly is your perception of that?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to this Masal Khair, like Dr. Khaled started. I will tell you, like, I want to build on what Dr. Khaled said and what Dr. Pierce said. It's kind of an interesting time for faculty, right? Like, I would say that higher education is well known that we don't move very fast when things are changing around us, right? Like we have the leverage usually of, for example, proposing a course, and the course will take a year and a half before it's accepted into our systems and processes. And this is definitely a new technology that's putting pressure on higher education, and like anything that we have seen before, just like was mentioned. I think that the only way to move forward is to embrace and the reason I see that being very imperative for business schools and universities in general is because our employers are demanding that our students are well prepared and versed in these technologies. And they will be looking at our students. Earlier, the comment about being native and technology came up. They're looking for our students to be the innovators in that space. So that's why, in order for us to help prepare our students for the future, we really need to embrace it. The question about adoption is a really important one. And I am truly a big believer that faculty sometimes shy away from adopting something because they really do not know how to do it. And if you provide enough training and support, then things will start shifting, even for your most skeptics in a school setting. What we have done at the Love School of Business is we offered mini grants that were just to pay for the $20 per month, whatever the tool was that they were interested in. So those mini grants were actually very well received across the business school. We had so many people apply for them. And then we asked the faculty who were accepted in those mini grants to come to the faculty meeting and present the work that they were doing in those spaces. And that helped kind of spark new ideas for other faculty to say, oh, can you teach me how to do this in my class? But like you said, I'm a big adopter. In my class, I have embedded generative AI in my syllabus. I taught marketing analytics with master's students this past semester, and almost every assignment that we had to do in the class had actually a big component of generative AI in it to teach them how to use it critically. The shortcutting of learning, you may remember in the Harvard presentation, I presented kind of a model where I think learning value can be increased when we actually customize the utilization of this tool. That's why I take my syllabus, I put it into a custom GPT, I have my students interact with it. Rather than telling the answer right away, I actually have a prompt that says, ask the students, what are they thinking about this topic? Why they're thinking what they're thinking? And then I kind of lead them toward the answer. But that Socratic method is so important, I think, in helping our students kind of really develop their critical thinking and their joy in learning a topic, because this tool can help us expand our learning in ways that we have not seen before. But of course, there are the ethical and other concerns, data concerns, and so on that we need to be thinking about. But I feel if you customize it and you build agentic AI in the future, right? That's something that I feel like is coming into the future. We'll be able to actually build a learning experience unlike anything that we have seen before, and we really will be able to motivate our students in new ways to prepare them for the new workforce.
It's very interesting that you have mentioned the genetic agent AI. So we'll see how this will take us, in the future. I think we'll see how this will take us in the future, given that this is kind of a very interesting. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, I think I mentioned as well in the Harvard presentation. So we had the CIO of Wells Fargo here on campus, and she's responsible for all the generative AI work. And she said that all the implementation now, nobody is talking just about single chatbots. Everybody is talking about an LLM model that's able to do multiple tasks at the same time. And that is where the future is going to go, right? And we need to help prepare our students to be ready for that future.
Certainly. given what you have mentioned, I think the next part that I would like to go to is primarily the challenges and risks that faculty might face in using that new technology. And given that we have Samir here, he's the only voice from Asia, so I appreciate having you around because you can tell us about this part of the world, what exactly is happening in there, and what do you think are kind of the risks that faculty might face as they adapt the new technology. I know that you have already done some research for the impact of artificial intelligence on marketing pedagogical development and how exactly we can, use it in our classes and our courses.
I mean, personally, I view AI in business education as one of the biggest opportunities of our time, but it also has too many risks. When it comes to faculty, from what I see, right, faculty have too many risks. Of course, I mean, when you have fear of being left behind, and sometimes a simple lack of awareness of something that's really important, like AI as technology nowadays, that's something that could be like a big barrier for you to endorse technology. So it's I would say it's a high pressure space for faculty members nowadays. How they can play around with the tools, how they can experiment tools, how can they see the value for themselves. But at the same time, you have lack of time. You need to publish, and you have this fear of being left behind. So I think that's the main risk. Also, I believe you have the student risk. I mean, we cannot ignore that our students are becoming more and more dependent on AI. If students rely on AI for everything, that's a big risk for the faculty members as well, because students will lose fundamental skills like critical thinking, creativity, resilience, and you'll have also the risk of inequality because not all faculty members um, are equipped with technology, equipped with the knowledge. So you have this inequality as another risk. Also, you have of course, the risk of data privacy. We are updating our internal guidelines, but it's still very complex. Many popular AI platforms are hosted offshore, and they have very special data policies. So I think we need to work with all of this risk in order to capitalize on capitalize and mobilize the opportunities that we have. I think on the positive sides, faculty members can definitely have a more personalized experience, can prepare for a better experience for the students, can have more productive and efficient career. But still, I mean, I would say we are still trying to figure out how we can integrate this into the class with a lot of pressure from the business ecosystem and with a lot of pressure from students as well. At the same time, I believe that if you don't adapt quickly and you shift away from traditional memory-based assessment methods, you will lag behind, and that's actually could be the main risk. So it's all about how to rethink how you teach and how you do your research and your main value in the business education. I would love to say actually that one of the risks is related to the entire industry. One of the latest findings by Indeed mentioned that 51% of students nowadays found that education system is irrelevant. So you have this question of irrelevance of education. And for me, if you ask me, this could be the biggest risk for faculty members. Faculty members like me are thinking how we can make education valuable and relevant again. And I don't think we have to shy out and avoid this question. I think we need to ask this question by disrupting the curriculum, by disrupting the teaching method, the assessment method, but most importantly, of the identity of education, why we are providing business education. I think the main starting point would be from if you want to be a good business school is being student-centric, going back to your students, and see how you can align them with a better career. Finally, I think the risk is coming also from the pressure the faculty members having internally from deans, leadership in general. You cannot ask faculty members to publish, to endorse technology, to have new teaching methods. Um, in 1 year, I mean, what's happening is that faculty members have a lot of pressure. Actually, we need to get promoted, we need to get tenure. At the same time, we need to disrupt our education system. And that's why I believe here we need to collaborate, right, internally in order to manage all of these risks. I think these risks are incomparable to any other previous technologies. And if the leadership is not supporting faculty members enough, I don't think that faculty members would not resist AI and generative AI. So I'm not sure if I complicated my answer, but I wanted to mention that we have pressure from the leadership, pressure from students, and of course, internal pressure that faculty members are seeing nowadays. When you hear your student asking you, okay, but why should I have an MBA? Why should I have an undergrad in business administration? The question of relevance is putting a lot of pressure on faculty members. So, and here actually you have the question of how to manage all of these risks together.
So I think you made it a little bit complicated for me because, and the reason is that you actually touched on the very important points. What I hear from you is a little bit of a concern, which I also hear it in my school and in different types of institutions. And that, I was gonna go to the fact, the student engagement, but I think this is a very good time to engage our leaders here, who has been managing the schools. So I'm gonna have the deans that we have, Dr. Khaled, Dr. Chuck, and Dr. Haya as well, to tell us how can you help faculty don't feel that they are left behind with a new technology that is not easy to adapt, that actually complicates their teaching, change the way they are thinking about the courses, and what type of resources can be allocated to serve this purpose. So I'm going to start with Dr. Khaled first. Chuck and Haya, please jump in as we're going through this conversation.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. All right, so I've done research on technology adoption for the past 25 years. And what I have noticed that invariably we tend to jump on the bandwagon with any new technology, focusing on competitiveness that it could afford us, and also the benefits we can gain from it. I say potential benefits we can get from it. We don't tend to think about the concerns or what I collectively call the dark side of technology. And that's such a unfortunate situation because we can see the impacts of previous waves of technology that we have adopted quickly, such as cell phones. And we gave cell phones to all our kids 20 years ago. And we have a national epidemic in mental health right now that is due in a large part to social media and cell phones and so on. So we have not looked at the long-term view to raise a concern at that point and to try to guide parents and institutions in the use of these technologies. So right now we have students sitting in our classrooms with attention spans that are like around 5 seconds. And not only that, they are distracted completely, and we have no guidelines to support them to learn. So it gets to be counterproductive to the learning experience of the students and the best interest of the student. So I would say that we need to look at this long-term view of what are the potential risks and try to act accordingly. I think the other thing is and this does not relate to technology and AI only, but it relates to the general attitude of students that has shifted in recent years. Like from being there to get an education at the university, learning, to being there to get a degree. And this is a fundamental difference between the two. If you are there to get an education, then your approach will be completely different around using such technologies as AI, because you're still interested in the education. Finally, I say it is our responsibility to shift the way we deliver courses. And this is not only due to AI, it just has been long in the making. We need to deliver differently so that we keep students in our classroom and they don't just rely on recorded videos and so on. What I think we should do is that also focus on what I refer to as human differentiating skill sets in the age of AI. That is, we're training our students to develop these skills such as collaboration, creativity, while knowing how to use these technologies, but still they maintain that edge in how to use them successfully. And that has to be embedded in our teaching, and we have to help our faculty members by showing them the way. It cannot be just go and figure this out on your own. And we have talked about some of the workshops we're doing, sharing best practices, like Dr. Haya talked about some of the grants that you can put in place to support them, and so on. Thank you.
Chuck, would you like to add anything about the resource allocation and the different types of resources you are providing to the faculty?
Yeah, I mean, Oakland University has a Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, and they're offering workshops on using AI. We haven't yet in the business school, purchased or encumbered technology just for the business school faculty. We know there are options available. One example, Vanderbilt University, evidently I was told you can put $25,000 down and then charge each user $3 a month and you have access to all their AI resources. I don't know if we're going to do something like that, but that's probably the road we're heading down is, looking at other leaders, what are they doing? As opposed to us trying to come up with resources on our own. We'll probably just be a follower to, people who are excellent in this area. We do have a task force. I know some of you have talked about a faculty task force. We've formed that this past year in our business school. We'll get recommendations from that faculty task force on how they want to proceed. But we have yet to allocate any portion of our budget to getting resources for faculty. But I do see it as being on the dean, on the business school. I don't expect faculty on their own to learn AI. I don't expect them on their own to pay for any resources. That's something that collectively at the business school level, we just need to figure out. So I'll wait for recommendations from that task force, and then we'll make a plan moving forward.
Haya, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, just one thing that I think leadership support is very, very critical in order to help with the diffusion of innovation like this in our classrooms. So one thing that we have done at Elon, we also had, of course, the task force. I was actually part of that AI implementation team. The first thing that we have done is we've done surveys to understand what our faculty and staff are feeling about these technologies. And we have been doing the survey every year to see the progress that we're making as well on AI readiness. I'm happy, by the way, to provide the questions to the survey if anybody feels like that would be helpful. The other thing that we did and where we're finding success now is that it's not about doing a workshop on AI and generative AI in general. And those are not that useful actually for our faculty, but to do AI in the arts, AI in accounting, AI in finance. And then people are seeing themselves in those spaces much better. And then you're tapping one of the faculty members who's been creating something in that space to present as well, kind of lower the boundaries a lot more than just bringing somebody who's very enthusiastic about this topic to talk in generality about the topic. So I feel like that those are some of the best practices. And then I want to remind us that education is not transactional, right? Elon is #1 in undergraduate education. in the country now 4 times in a row based on US News and World Report. And the way we do this is because we say all the student-centered approach that earlier was talked about is right in the heart of this. But it's about relationships. It's about building a person. It's not about just like, let me feed you all this information. Adam Grant, in a recent interview with Sam Altman, he said that we're going to be moving away from, and that's the CEO of OpenAI, with a Wharton professor who does a lot of work in psychology. But what he has said is that it's not, like, human is not going to be anymore an information collector. Human is going to be, or the future of expertise is going to be about connecting, not collecting. So I think the expertise now is going to be shifting. And in order to be connecting, you need to build relationships. You need to be able to connect, again, those human skills that AI cannot surpass our abilities in. But that's maybe one way as well to shift our view in this. But lots of nurturing is required from leadership in order for those tools to be successfully implemented.
So I'm actually learning a lot today from you guys in different ways. You know, Dr. Khaled, you mentioned human differentiating skills. Haya, you're saying that we need to be connecting more than we contacting with the student. So it's kind of a different way of thinking of how we can approach schools and how can we approach our classes, and how can we think of our pedagogical development process, which is, in my opinion, it's very challenging for the faculty. So I'm gonna go back to Samer, trying to ask more about, you know, when you there's a recent report came from the ASCSB, and they're looking at the deans versus the faculty perception of many different areas, and it was clearly a big difference between what the deans assume faculty has done and what the faculty have received in terms of the support. So some of the things that they have mentioned was kind of, you know, we have a problem with the ethical consideration. We're not sure if the student actually are doing the job themselves or somebody else is doing it. How can we assess and how can we, you know, improve? And you have mentioned a lot of different things related to the privacy of technology, privacy concerns and different things. So my question to you, like, what exactly, or how can we tackle this ethical problem that faculty face with in my opinion, limited resources available for their education and their development to be a better adapter of the technology?
Well, that's a very important question. You know, I think ethical guidelines in general should cover 3 important pillars, starting with transparency. Students, faculty members should disclose when AI tools are used. That's very important. For me, actually, I'm someone who endorses AI, whether in classroom or outside of my classroom, and I encourage my students to use it. But at the same time, I tell them, okay, you have to tell me how you use it. And I think the how is very important ethically. So they have to disclose how and when they use AI. That's very important, and that's part of my assessment. Also, you have another principle related to the protection of data, your personal data, the data of your institution. That's also another important principle. The third principle is related to accountability, to the fairness of assessment, to the fairness of the usage of this technology. I think one thing that actually we are doing it wrong is when we say, okay, we don't have to use it or we have to use it. I think it's not a question of whether we have to use it. Students will use it, but we need to teach them how to use it in a balanced way. So here is the importance of integrating really innovation ethics mindset among our students. And I think it should not be like through workshops or trainings. It should be integrated into every course that uses AI. And at the end, we should have a responsible student, ethical students who use AI in a balanced way. So my perspective is to balance innovation with ethics. It means that you need to build an institutional culture where it is normal and expected to use AI, but at the same time, I should trust you, and I should not challenge. You should not challenge my trust, and you should not challenge the ethical guidelines that I have set. Again, when it comes to ethics, we get back to the three principles that I have mentioned. One, transparency. That's actually very important to build trust within the institution. Two, to protect data, and that's actually part of the innovation, right? And the third component is accountability. And here, accountability is going to help us to develop mindsets where fairness, equality are going to be set in our institution. So one of the negative things that I have seen is when you block the usage of AI by students. I think that's actually is going to kill the innovation mindset. So the question is how to balance the ethical usage of AI with the innovation mindset. One thing that actually I do in my classroom is I ask my students, I divide my class into three different groups. And I teach marketing strategy. So one of the groups is pure AI. So they have to come up with a campaign plan without using any human capabilities. We have another group that's pure human. Pure human, where they cannot use any AI tools. And the third one is combo. They can use AI, but still in a balanced way. At the end of the session, students and I evaluate the three different groups, and we always come up with a conclusion. The third group, the combo group, is the best group among the three groups. And this could be a great conclusion for students that AI should not replace them. AI should support them. And that's actually very important, not only in terms of how they strategically use it, but also how to ethically use it. Because at some point, if you get AI to replace you, that's actually unethical behavior. And I know that unethical and ethical is very subjective, but if you get an algorithm to replace you, for me at least, it's unethical. So to conclude actually my thoughts, again, you need to develop a culture that balances ethics and innovation, to encourage technology, but at the same time to always remind students that they have to use it in a balanced way.
Very interesting experience. Did you write a paper about the three categories in your class?
Yeah, I did.
All right, this is very interesting experiment.
Thank you.
So I want to be mindful of everybody's time, but at the same time, this discussion has been very useful. So please let me know if you have to drop because of other commitment. But I would like to open just the question for our panel here. How do you see the shift in our kind of the jobs that we are expecting to see in the future? So, for example, I recently shared with you the report that came from McKinsey, and one of the things that they have mentioned that there is a new kind of jobs comes to the market about the AI compliance and AI data scientist and an AI ethics specialist. Those things are not something that we expect to see, business school are providing courses on or trying to help students to be adapting. So what exactly is your perception of that new kind of technology? Dr. Khaled, please go ahead. I'm sorry, you're muted.
I'm happy to address this question, Mohammed, but then I'm unfortunately going to have to drop off due to a prior commitment. But I think we have been emphasizing a lot the value of interdisciplinary education, and we have a long history of doing that through offering things like an engineering management degree or an integrated business humanities degree and so on. I think with AI, there is no exception, and we need to train our students in this regard. So not only are we infusing it in our courses across the different business disciplines, but we are in the process of launching 2 new degrees on AI and analytics. So in business, so Masters of Management in AI Analytics in Business. And these are professional master's programs. One is full-time and one is blended learning part-time, to equip students with the skill sets they need when they join the workplace in the application of these technologies in different settings. So I think we again have to embrace the need for this technology in the workplace and proceed to prepare students who are able to do this in an effective and ethical way. I would just emphasize the ethical side because my own research has shown that, and this was in part of the McKinsey report as well. In my research, 70% of the people were quite willing to adopt a like non-ethical issue potentially without questioning. So non-ethical decision or recommendation from an AI. And because they just can't cope with the cognitive demands of assessing all the data sets given to them. So if you support them, then they discovered the issue and they rejected the recommendations from the AI. So it is really important that we prepare students to understand the limitations of AI, look for potential biases, and inform their decision-making accordingly. But thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Khaled, and thanks, Chuck. Both of you have contributed greatly to this session, so I appreciate your input. And I'm going to move to Haya if you would like to add anything about this.
I think Dr. Khaled answered it well, but did you want to open it up for questions as well, Mohammed?
Sure, we can do that. If the audience has any question, please feel free to reach out. Dr. Tarek, you can open your mic.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. First of all, I would like to convey my big thanks to all the speakers at the panel for the awesome and insightful talk. You really added a lot to the discussion and made this topic a way more interesting with your ideas and experience. And we are really appreciated and excited to hear more from you in the future time. And I would like to just convey my sincere gratitude also to Dr. Haya, Dr. Saber, Dr. Khaled, to Shank for your effort and time. My question right now regarding to current position and also previous position. My current position as Vice President of Mansoura University, and I was also served as a Dean of the Faculty of Business because I'm Professor of Economics. And in my mind, I have always this kind of question: how could we fill the gap between industry and education? And my question right now: how might partnership between business school, especially, and technology firms enhance Gen AI implementation and innovation in education?
That's a great question. I can maybe get us started because around October, we actually participated at Elon University with our president and the director for AI on our campus and a couple more colleagues participated in an open AI kind of forum for education, talking about what the future would look like. And I think being in those spaces is really critical. So we see, for example, companies like Anthropic, more recently, they have introduced a new tool for learning that they're calling learning mode with the cloud, where it's kind of allowing that question Q&A type like what Khan Academy as well has done, rather than giving students answers right away. And we're seeing those type of partnerships, and I'm sure those companies, right, are interested in increasing the reach as well globally. So definitely I feel reaching out to and understanding what those companies are doing and reaching out and saying, listen, like, we want to attend your forum, or we want to be part of that conversation as you're thinking about educational institution. Northeastern University just signed a contract with Anthropic to kind of think about that globally. So I think that partnership with the LLM leaders is important. But then there are other types of partnerships. I'll give you an example. We have a company here called Hanes Brands. They used to own the Champion brand. That's like a very, I know, famous globally as well. But what we have done with them, we brought their analytics team here on campus, and we had them give us a competition of how we can think about LLM AI models in order to adapt to their current processes. And we had our students compete to help them think like on a data competition that they've given us to help them think about what their future would look like. So I feel like there is the pioneers in the field, right? Those are the LLM companies. and that partnership between universities and those companies are important. And then you have companies that are maybe already in your ecosystem that you can go to and say, I know you're trying to figure this out. We're trying to figure this out too. Let's work together so we can prepare our students for what the future would look like. I think that industry partnership is critical in this time.
Thank you.
Samer would like to add anything?
I think that partnerships are crucial here, right? I mean, we need these companies. They have the knowledge, they have the know-how. I mean, most importantly, we need them because they can help us to build better infrastructure. And that's actually something that we lack in business schools. We talk a lot about curriculum, we talk a lot about placing our students in better careers, but we also miss the importance of having internally good infrastructure, right? I think the expertise that these companies can bring to the table is important here, right? Also, I mean, you can, why not? I mean, get partners to train your faculty members. I'm sure that not everyone wants to be an AI expert, but we need a core team that can innovate, that can endorse technology. I think all of these areas, as Haya mentioned, are important nowadays to work together with partners from the ecosystem, not only to change how you teach, but also to change and to build better infrastructure. When we talk about AI, if you teach AI, or if you really want to embrace AI revolution, you need to have internal technical infrastructure that can compete with other business schools.
You guys said it greatly. Actually, I always think that business school never ran as an organization. We always think of us as we actually training people to be professional and do business and be able to participate in a corporation, but we never think of our faculty as people who actually need development. We always think like if you had a PhD, you're perfect, then come teach. But we never actually build that momentum of learning that we can do in the future. So that's great. So I have a hand here. You raise your hand. Do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Dr. Muhammad. First of all,
You might be sitting in the same room as the one that has the speakers.
is my voice clear?
Yes, it is. Go ahead.
Okay, I thank you first of all for the informative session. I just want to add a question about a challenge that I think we still are facing. Dr. Samer said that it's predictable that students use AI in their tasks or in their schoolwork, but and it's acceptable. I don't think it's acceptable yet here as we speak. I think we are still dealing with the stigma of that using AI is or equals cheating. So how can we deal with this? Even as a TA in the faculty, our doctors or professors still think that if we used AI in our work, our presentations, our tasks, it also equates cheating or getting things done the easier way. So how to deal with this traditional mindset, or how to shift it to the new, to a more innovative?
I don't think that you are the only one, Hind. You're not the only one. I think faculty members all over the world, they have resistance to change, right? Resistance to endorse technology. It's how you deal with it. I think if you look at the bright side, I would say that AI can shift students from passive learners to active creators. And this could be a superpower for your classroom, right? If you get students to innovate, to create, to come up with new ideas, to improve their solutions, that could be a superpower. I'm not exaggerating. Uh, I think that feeling of fear is the main driver of resistance to change. We resist to change because we are afraid of what's going to happen next. But let's focus on now. I mean, we already lag behind the corporate. We already lag behind the other stakeholders in the ecosystem. So I think it's all about how you deal with resistance to change with your first with your leadership and then with the students. Um, I mean, for me, actually, to be very honest with you, I don't think we have any control on our students whether they can use AI or not. There are hundreds of ways on how students can use AI, and let me be very honest with you, we have as faculty members zero idea how to manage this. And our students are much smarter than us when it comes to assessments, presentations, and the grades. So you have to teach them how to use it. I mean, that's the question. How to deal with the leadership? I think you need to manage the resistance to change by looking at the bright side, having clear structure, clear ethical guidelines, clear policies. I think this could help definitely.
I think the discussion earlier as well, Hind, about the leadership sponsorship is really important. So when you have a dean or you have a vice president or provost coming in and saying, we are going to embrace these tools, right? And here's the policy that the institution has. Now, of course, we're big believers in faculty freedom in the classroom, that they have the power to decide how these things are. But those few faculty who are not adopted, right, are going to feel behind. But I think part of it as well is like exciting people about this technology in way that you're changing assessment. Like we still have some faculty here who would give out a exam, like a take-home exam, right? Like we know that take-home exams are already like that. This is, you know, you can work with ChatGPT, and then they have a policy not to use ChatGPT. You know, this is like a failure, like in an equation to start with. But if the new assessment is, I want you to work with ChatGPT, I want you to show me the prompt that you have used, I want to help you improve your critical thinking while you're working through this assignment, then you're going to be more successful. So rethinking the design of the assessment as well by all faculty, and then a student like you, what I heard is that as a TA, maybe in your class, you could maybe suggest, right, like here's some ways we could change the assessment in order to make it better, to make it more challenging for the students in ways that are actually getting them more into the topic that we want to teach them. And here the critical learning objectives become really important here, right, to kind of guide again what it is that we really want them to get out of this class, other than writing, right, like a very long paper that maybe doesn't mean anything to them.
You're right.
Thank you both.
Thank
So we
you.
have, I think, a question from the audience in the room.
Yes, so plus yes, hi. So aside from being the organizer of the teams, so I just wanted to respond to Professor Samer and Professor Haya for what they were saying. I was a TA at California State University, Fullerton, and we had like the same problem. And during the course, it was a synchronized course. So you know the difficulties and challenges for keeping updated the students and everything. And we did then like teach the students at the time on telling them how to use ChatGPT at this and how to write the prompt. And we asked them during the assignments to write down in which contest or which paragraph did they actually use that ChatGPT for, and for what concern. And from that, I think being open, like the student being open for AI at this point, it's helpful, and they're being honest at the same time, not hiding and just like doing it and saying, oh, this is my information, not anyone else, you know? So I think it's being helpful to make them open to AI and let them know how to use it, so it will be helpful for them and add the information. So it was just like a comment regarding your question. Thank you.
Sure,
Thank you very much.
I mean, to just to add one comment, sorry, Mohammed. I think it all starts with the clear policies. For now, business schools have developed reactive policies. I think we need to focus more on preventing cheating than enabling innovation. And that's actually a shift in the mindset. What we need next is proactive policies, how to encourage responsible, creative, ethical use of AI in teaching, learning, and research. So it's a shift in the mindset from being reactive to being more proactive. And it's not only you, again, it's not you are not the only academic institution that's facing this. It's also among the top academic institutions worldwide. We have been reactive. We are trying to prevent cheating. We are trying to prevent unethical behavior, but we are not enabling innovation. I think AI can help us to empower our students with innovation and creativity in ways that no other technologies have been able to do so.
Absolutely. I think we have one last question before we conclude the session. So Noura Mohammed, do you have a question?
Yes, doctor. Thank you for this great discussion. I just want to have a little claim about the trust, how to build a trust between us and AI. For example, when I wrote something on ChatGPT and I demand from it to give me some references. They give me these references, but at the same time, they are fake. They are not trusted. So I'm confused. How to trust this 100%, and at the same time, they are not trusted.
Let me rephrase this. Haya, it's kind of
hallucination.
Should we trust it 100%, whatever we get, and we deal with it as a fact, or how can we interpret that information?
Yeah, no, absolutely not, right? So the way that the technology works, when you go back into why hallucination happens on those platforms, is because this is exactly why on the other end gives you an answer that looks so human-like. So one of the advantages of these technologies is that it's giving us creative answers, but on the other end, it's very creative sometimes that it's not fact checked, right? I know that all those companies are working on reducing hallucination. It's definitely one of the problems that they're working on solving. However, I think you should never read anything online and say, oh, it's a fact, right? You should always go back to your sources. You go back to, I wrote a book with McGraw-Hill, and one of the things that we had to do, every time you're stating something as a fact, you had to go and find 3 sources that are credible, that are refereed, before you say that it's something that is taken for granted. So I would say that in the era that we live in right now, you have to take everything with skepticism the first time you read it, including what ChatGPT is giving you. So trust is not there until it's verified, right? The information is verified first. And just know that this is a feature of the technology that we're going to be dealing with. And you have to use your critical thinking. That's why it's so important for us to be critically evaluating, and I'll call it critical thinking 2.0 in the era of AI, right? Because now fake images are going to be much more popular, right? We usually tend as humans to look at something that looks real, and we're like, oh, this is a real image, or this is a real video even. But all these things are now out of the window. You have to be very critical in how you evaluate the information that you've been given. It's not going to write your research paper yet, but you, again, go back to the sources, evaluate, and use it as a baseline, not as, a final product. I think that's really critical.
I totally agree.
So
We have one more question from the audience in the room. Do you guys are willing to take it, or should we conclude it here?
I think let's take it.
Okay, sounds great. So
thank you so much for your patience.
With AI and other technology becoming smarter every day, teaching, analyzing data, even making business decision, it makes me wonder, what do you think will be the unique role of human business leaders in the future?
I think that's in line with what we were talking about earlier, with the McKinsey study of what are the new jobs of the future. We know that new jobs are going to be created. Maybe you're like the human verifier, maybe you're the human connector, maybe the human relationship builder. I think this will be really interesting, right, to see by 2030 how things are going to be changing. And something that I would recommend that all of us, keep a close eye on is AGI, or like the artificial general intelligence idea that one day we're going to be having a machine not only that does the data analysis and all that, but it's going to be much smarter than human, and it will do things in the agentic models that we're talking about earlier, that's able to maybe build an entire business on its own without any human intervention, right? That maybe is coming. And that's a great question. And I think this is why, in fact, OpenAI, this is something I talked about as well in the presentation on Thursday, last week had a job, DeepMind, that was DeepMind with Google. They had a job for post-AGI researcher. So like to think about what is the human role in all this, right? Like what are we going to be doing in the future? So I feel it's a great research area. If you have like a thesis or dissertation that you have to write for your class or a new research paper, this is really a great area of exploration. Samir, what do you think?
I think that's a very important question. Faculty members, especially in business education, I think should have two main priorities nowadays. One is to position ourselves as thought leaders, to produce research, insights, programs that help businesses, societies to navigate this transition, right? I think it's an opportunity for us. We are living in a transition phase. We are moving into new economy, new types of societies. And I think faculty members should not only focus on teaching, to be honest. We are, at the end of the day, thought leaders. So you should position yourself in this area, right? Whether by producing research, producing articles, insights, commentaries. I think we are still trustworthy. We are still credible, right, in the market, and we have to leverage this. That's one. Two, I think that we need to rethink our teaching, right? We need to upskill, because without that, we cannot move fast. And in order to change how we teach, and in order to upskill, we need to think about what new teacher I am, and what teacher I am in this AI era. I am a service provider, I am a human collaborator, or I'm someone who is developing the new business leader. I think that's the question. I mean, it's not the question of what I'm going to teach. The content is going to be very easy for you. The materials are almost everywhere, right? But the question is, what kind of teacher you want to be, right? Are you going to develop responsible business leader? Are you going to develop a tech-savvy business leader? And look at the skills that actually are required in the market. Try to align them with your curriculum. Try to align them with your course outlines. Try to be future ready, not only to get your students to be future ready, but get yourself to be future ready. I think that's one way that to navigate this area. But again, I think that we focus a lot on teaching, but also let's not forget that we are a thought leader, right? That's very important in this era, especially in the Arab world, right? We need more thought leaders. We need insights. We need articles. We need programs. We need research papers on how our societies can can transition into a new era of innovation and creativity. I think we lack. We lack in this area, and this could be one of the main opportunities for business faculty members. I'm not sure if I'm exaggerating, but I think there is a huge gap when it comes to research in our region, right? And this could be an opportunity for all faculty members. And that's how you can differentiate yourself from all other faculty members as well.
Guys, I've learned a lot today, and this has been a great session. I think I've heard lots of good things and new different ways of thinking of how we can enable the AI in our business education, but more importantly, why it's a concern and how we can navigate it. This session can goes on and on for hours, and I know that everybody here has benefited a lot from your discussion, and they have learned a lot today. And I'm not sure if this would be the end of it. I think we have to, think about other times that we can discuss this even more and have more people that can help us to do it. So I appreciate the impressive discussion that people are mentioning here and the excellent advices that you all have provided to our colleagues at Mansoura University. Again, it was my pleasure to invite you all, and I appreciate the opportunity that Dr. Tarek has given me, Dr. Mona Dakrori, the Dean of School of Business, to trust me to moderate this session. It wasn't an easy task for me. Actually, I learned a lot by reading and listening to all of you. So I don't think it's the end of it, but then we can even start the discussion. Dr. Tarek, if you would like to, conclude the session.
Actually, as I said, Dr. Muhammad, great thanks for Dr. Haya, Dr. Simon, and all of the speakers in this kind of discussion. And it's time, for example, to invite you right now to visit our university in general, and we can go further in more detailed in discussion in these topics, and we can help us, for example, to how could we adopt AI in our business education at all. And we are pleasure, for example, for host you in our university. And it's open invitation. You can determine the time, and you are welcome at any time. Thank you very much for your effort and your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Shukran.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.